Hi there, I've come in here today to do a field review of this knife, the Bark River Bravo 1 LT in 3V steel. So the specs on this knife, it's over 4 inches in blade length, so about 4.25, got a 5-inch handle. The blade is made of 3V steel. It's 3/16 of an inch thick. The handle is made of polished micarta, so it is very smooth to the touch, not rough like perhaps you'd find on an SE micarta. It is pinned construction, so you cannot take the knife apart. It has a lanyard hole at the end here. It does not have a pommel, however it is a full tang knife. You can see the tang flowing all the way through the slab style handle constructions. It has a sharpening choil at the start of the blade, and this model here has a thumb ramp. I've been told the thumb ramp may not be for thumbs, it may actually be for striking fire steel. However, they have gone ahead and put jimping on there, which I guess could also assist with striking fire steel, but it kind of leads the thumb naturally to rest on it. The Bravo 1 comes in all sorts of configurations. This 3V LT model is thinner rather than the usual A2 model, which is a 1/4 inch thick, although sometimes it's not. It's also a variety of handle scale materials. You can get G10, you can get micarta, you can get all different sorts of wood, you can get with coloured liners, you can get all sorts of kind of exotic and glamorous looking materials. I went for polished brown micarta just because I do intend on using this as a working knife, and it's a sort of a nice subdued but kind of earthy looking, bushcrafty looking, homemade sort of looking material. I actually thought when I was ordering it, it was black micarta with the pins, which I always really like, as my fondness of, say, the Almar Falcon might sort of show. I like when knives kind of just look kitcheny, utility-ish, not super flashy, but the brown is completely fine with me as well. It's a full convex grind on this blade. So a full convex grind means it is a consistent line from the spine here all the way to the edge. On some other knives you'll find a partial convex grind, which is perhaps like a Falkniven S1, which I'll show you in a second. The Falkniven S1 has a convex grind that starts from the middle of the blade. This one, convex all the way to that terminating edge. There may be a very slight micro bevel, but for all intents and purposes it is a strong convex bevel and should have all the strengths of a convex with fewer of the weaknesses. We'll see in testing if that pans out as I feel it should. So today I'm out kayaking with my Bark River Bravo 1. I'll be using the knife to build some basic bushcrafty kind of structures. I'll be using it to start my fire, I'll be using it to do any food prep, and I'll just be using it for whatever kind of comes to mind, whatever you'd use a camp knife for. One thing I have noticed already is the leather sheath. The leather sheath is, well, it's not waterproof at all. So what I have done is, before I left, I thoroughly waterproofed this sheath, and it is now, it's gotten wet and it just hasn't absorbed any of that water. I've just used a couple of coats of Obernoffs and then a pretty strong, pretty fragrant Australian leather care, leather sealant type thing as well. So definitely not a waterproof sheath otherwise, but it is something I have made work for this purpose. Not the ideal aquatic knife sheath for certain though. Another thing I have noticed about the sheath already is that certain parts of it are starting to kind of come apart and flake off. This thumb ramp has pushed this bit of leather off just from the motion of it getting pushed in, so you have to always remember to push the strap back behind this circle here, and then in it goes, and the thumb ramp is gradually just starting to lever off this bit of leather. Not a deal breaker obviously, but just something to be aware of. I think the sheath is going to live a lot less long than the knife, but them's the breaks. This line on the tree here, until a couple of weeks ago the river was this high where I'm standing. These marks here are just where the water soaked up to. We had a really big flooding event, so Lots of this stuff. The reason it's so green around here right now is because this got absolutely inundated with water. Killed all of the Australian stuff, like the saltbush and things, which die with too much water, and now it's all grown back super green. It's actually quite nice, even though it's all just weeds. Found this cool little area to maybe grab some dead wood, so I don't have to be scrounging amongst the green undergrowth for it. Good for a fire later on in the evening. Don't need one now, of course, because it's about 35 degrees Celsius, but you'll need one when it's getting darker, especially against the river. It makes it pretty darn cold, actually. Something about being so close to like a body of water just kind of lowers the temperature by a fair bit. And I haven't bought that many warm clothes. I've sort of I've got this, and I've got like a jacket, but apart from that, I'm probably just going to count on wrapping myself in my sleeping bag or sitting close to a fire if it's too cold. And guess what? I actually forgot to bring tent pegs. I know, right? What a bushcraft knife review video cliche. I actually have to, out of necessity, not just for fun, I have to use my Bark River knife to make tent pegs for my swag. Just 2 of them, but you know, it's one of those serendipity things. There's actually a need for a knife on my camping trip, and I get to use a knife, and I get to use a good knife that I'm reviewing. So let's get to it. I'll cut some green wood and we'll carve a couple of tent pegs. Yay! Chops pretty well. Yowzers. Guess that's a convex grind, isn't it? As Gideon's tactical say, boom. Oh yeah. Boom. Always important when you are dicking around with knives in the bush, which is really what this is. Just remember your first aid kit. You'd hate to, especially now, I've had to take a boat to get here, so last thing I want to do is like put a deep cut in my hand and ruin my trip. Anyway, this tree, and I know I'm not supposed to cut down everything, but it's right next to another tree. Surely it's Highlander, there can be only one. So this tree is going to become some tent pegs for me, and then just some firewood after that. Wow, for such a small knife, that chops like crazy. Chops good. The knife chops good. I don't. Alrighty, so this part here, it's all good. The tree was deceased as crap already, so no problems. I guess it's probably been underwater, so it's all mouldy at the bottom here. Cool, so tree huggers, we can all move on with our lives. Righto, so I reckon I'll make the first cut there. I'll use something to strike, some sort of cudgel, or maybe even a baton to get through this wood here. Let's find something. Everything is dead and nothing weighs anything. Sorry, that's just a song I'll be working on called Everything is Dead, Nothing Weighs Anything. Baton, baton, baton. I knew I should have brought my hammer on my ultralight kayaking trip. It's all good. Let's just use the knife, huh? We'll use the knife to work our way around it. does bite in quite nicely indeed. Yes, it does. Maybe I'll just tap at this. This might be the trick. Oh yeah, that does the job. Just enough to get around it. Oh. So this 3V steel is supposed to be super A, edge holding, and B, tough, so shouldn't really be too worried about using it for, like, you know, more intense woodcraft type tasks. That's the word anyway, and I'm all about the word. And as the Apostle P would say, the word is sharp. Geez, all my YouTuber references today. Wunderbar. Ha. Tent pegs we will have. But I'll be able to use some of the natural features of the wood to get my tent pegs. What do you reckon? It's actually going good. I made them so sharp. The soil's got a real clay quality to it now. It's sort of formed this crust over the top of it. So I'm really going to have to pound this bugger in to be able to get it in there, because it's kind of developed a crust when there's been a flood, and then it recedes. It sort of leaves like silt, which becomes like clay on the surface here. So let's find something heavy and smash this baby in. And this wood is why I've broken so many knives. It's just super dense. It's almost like a rock. This is just spotted gum, I think. And geez, it's just like you cut it, and that's like a glassy, smooth surface. It takes ages, even with a silky saw, which is one of the better saws you can get. Just our wood here is epic. I have epic wood between my legs right now. Oh man. Whoops. Ah, fuck it, I'm sure it'll tie just fine. Whew. So in the real world, this bit of wood here is probably about as thick as I'd ever batten myself, like for actually needing to do it. Which I probably still don't actually need to. I could just go and find heaps of leaves and shit, but you know, I am testing this knife, and you know, you have to suspend your disbelief every now and then when you watch us YouTubers review knives, because we do things that, you know, might not be the most direct or easiest path to glory, but I'm sure in the end we receive glory nonetheless. So that was pretty easily done. It's hard, nasty wood. It's still this is the wood that killed the Boca Voxrold, killed it dead, killed the cold steel bushman. So you know, it's not a given that it's going to just do it. But you know, I'm pretty sure with a knife made of 3V steel by a company like Bark River, I don't think I was ever going to have too much of a problem. Yep, no worries at all, edge is fine. So these will be the basis of my like first few shavings and whatnot. So I'll go sit in the shade and do some wood whittling with my Bark River knife. What's not doing so good though is the sheath. Man, this sucks ass. It's like every time you want to put the knife back in, it hangs up on that part. See this part? I'll zoom in. It hangs up on there because the strap bit pushes the knife onto it. And look, it's just, it just sucks. So you got to kind of like realign it every time. It's like, man, leather sheaths shouldn't be this hard. Like, just don't worry about this business and just have it form fitted like or go deeper like the Genesis one. So I don't know, definitely not loving the sheath. It looks cool though. Oh yeah, it looks awesome. You could like, you know, it'd look great like with me standing on like the front cover of a romance novel with this knife on my hip in this leather sheath. I reckon I'd definitely sell some Mills and Boons books with that picture, especially if it focused on the knife sheath and not my glasses. But yeah, apart from looking good, it's not particularly functioning that well, I'm sorry to say. Knife, great. Sheath, meh. So as far as my thoughts are progressing on this Bark River 3V Bravo 1 LT, geez. Yeah, really positive. I really have enjoyed using this knife, and it's done all of its tasks really well. This grind is on par with like a Scandi grind for woodworking. It's really precise, really easy to use, and I've had like no problems at all with like lining it up or making cuts and things like that. It also chops like a little miniature axe because of it, and there's been no concerns with it sort of rolling or anything unusual happening to it during heavier tasks. So really well done blade. If I could do it again, I probably would get this thumb ramp taken off, although saying that, it's not horrible because it does enable that cool little cut I was doing, which you could probably do without it, but it kind of felt like I was getting some precise sort of belly work. Belly work. Oh, all these crap words we make up in the knife game. I was doing a fair bit of good stuff with this end of the knife because of it, so not too bothered. Not super bothered anyway. The sheath just needs to be, you need to get a different sheath for it. Really not enjoying this leather one. Just isn't holding it in well enough. But overall, I think like, say this knife, some alternatives to this knife, like this new SE4, this is an alternative to it. It's probably about half the price. So if that is a big factor to you, you get you get a lesser steel, but you get a really durable, like really well-made knife. This one's got micarta scales as well, but this is rough, unpolished micarta. So it's just, one's fairly grippy and one's fairly smooth. This one's probably better for being like a beater knife, like a, not caring about it as much type knife. It's the same thickness, the blade's length is pretty much the same. This one doesn't have a hump, so it might be better for your bushcrafty tasks, maybe. But it's 1095 softer steel, which will dull fairly quickly compared to 3V. Still not super quickly if you're just using it on wood though. But the thing about this knife here is, unlike the SE, this feels like a real you're going to keep this knife for the rest of your life sort of thing. The SEs, yeah, they're well made, but they're at the pinnacle of production knives without becoming these sort of heirloom quality, hand finished sort of excellent knives like the Bark Rivers and the LT Wrights and the blind or the Battle Horse knives, and all those sorts of things. So for that extra like $120 or whatever that you'll pay for something like this or like this, you get something that you're kind of proud to have in your collection. And it's a bit like how, a golfer, you can get golf clubs that'll do the job, but if you're really into golf, you might want the customized ones or the personalized ones or the ones that are just right for you. And I think looking into knives like this is when you start to encroach on that territory. So I'd really highly recommend, if you are looking at something like a heirloom or even just a really good pride piece fixed blade, I think Bark River, LT Wright, really good places to start. And amongst the Bark River collection, I think the Bravo one, especially this one in its thinner stock, is about the best starting point you can get. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I hope you've enjoyed my little adventures, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.